Before this video starts, I would like to just clarify that this is about a very serious topic, and I'm going to go into some detail about some triggering stuff. So before anything else is said about this, I would like to warn anyone who may come across this video that this is some serious shit I'm about to talk about. I would also like to make this apparent to any viewers watching to show love and support to the victims of Xaid's wrongdoing. Unfortunately, I do not know any names or know how many people there are that were affected by Xaid, as the last time I was in contact with anyone who had any sort of relationship with Xaid was a few years ago. Speaking of which, most of the things I will be talking about are from memory and are based around my time with Xaid, or who I really mean to say is Chaos PM. This story is about when Xaid was known as Chaos, so I will refer to him as such for the story, as this is how I knew him in the past. A few years ago, I had discovered Discord, and had begun using it quite a lot in my free time, and had joined only relatively few servers. One such server was Xaid VAs. I believe in late 2018, or it could have been early 2019, my memory is still a bit fuzzy. I had met Chaos, and we began to chat a bit in voice channels, along with some other friends I had made during my time there. Shortly after we met, he told me about his YouTube channel and the content he creates. I wasn't into any of the videos he makes, but he also invited me to his Discord server, which at the time was new. Some of my friends from Xaid VAs were already members of Chaos' server, and I was interested in making some new friends, and had already started to consider Chaos a friend of my own. So I gladly accepted his invitation. Now, there isn't much to talk about during my first few months of being there, as I wasn't relatively active on the server and was still mainly talking to other friends that were a part of Xaid's server. That all happened up until I got banned permanently from Xaid's for shitposting in a channel dedicated to shitposting, a very dumb reason I know. With my favourite server now gone, I had become more active on Chaos' server and had begun befriending some of the members on there, and also had begun speaking to Chaos a lot more in the process. Over a period of time of how long I don't remember, Chaos and I became a lot closer as friends, to the point where we would have frequent one-on-one calls where we could just talk about things we liked, such as music, gaming, and computers, and overall just general stuff going on in our lives. Periodically, he would actually vent to me in these calls about his fanbase. Again, my memory of this is not clear, so forgive me for the lack of detail. But he would go on and say about how he found some of his fans annoying and hard to be around, as they would repeatedly ask him to do impressions and to read their ASMR scripts they had written. I could see where he was coming from, as this would totally get on my nerves too if I was repeatedly asked to do things I didn't want to. However, as a whole, he wasn't very nice to his fans in private, and there were moments where he would get angry about them too. Just to be clear, this wasn't directed at all of his fans, but only to the ones that would ask him to do voice acting on the daily. Throughout these rants, however, it would become more and more apparent that overall, he didn't really like any of his fans. He found the frequent role-playing and the general nature that they would speak to him and other people was kind of hard to explain. Yes, cringy would be the best way to describe it. I distinctly remember him saying, "I wish people could be as chill as you." As I wasn't really a part of any of the role-playing, I was merely just there to have friends to talk to and to sort of relax after a day of college. He actually used to say these sorts of things to other people he considered close friends, which eventually I also became decent friends with. These sorts of people, I guess, were obviously old-time friends, maybe friends he knew in real life. I remember one of them, Under the Mask, that was Chaos' editor at the time. A quick interruption actually, I just wanted to mention that anyone watching, if you haven't watched Under the Mask's video, I'll display that on screen now. It is quite a long watch, but I highly recommend it. I wasn't as active and as engaging as the regulars there. Part of that being that I'm a British man in an American server, and I was normally going to bed when the server was just starting to pick up. And the other part being I couldn't really get along with many of the members. Their interest for anime was to the level of devotional to me, which there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just I couldn't share the same level of interest as them. But I was there enough to gain good relationships with some of the regulars on the server. Thinking back now, I can't actually remember what any of their names were. It's been such a long time. It was a good time as well. Going back to the different time zones I had to deal with during my time, there was an incident where some people had raided the server and had started raving about Chaos and all the bad things he has done. Obviously, during this time, it was early morning hours for me, and I was asleep, so I wasn't made aware of this until the morning, when someone had DM'd me about the situation. They said that people had suddenly mass spammed that Chaos was a paedophile and a manipulator, and that they had proof to show. It wasn't until the next day when someone had sent me screenshots of DMs between Chaos and a fan. Inappropriate is one way to describe it, and I thought nothing of it until I was told that the girl he had been messaging was 13 years old.
The people that you have done this DDLG with, and you know that I know some of these people.
I've only done it with like 2 people.
You understand that the majority of your fan base is underage girls, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You understand that this type of action on Discord with that fan base is irresponsible, correct?
Yes.
So why do it?
To say I was shocked would be an understatement. This person I had come to know well, a person that I would share things about my personal life with, even adding each other on Snapchat. The first thing I thought that this was all fake, that someone was out to ruin his life. How could I trust information from a person that I didn't know compared to someone I had known for the past half a year? It was all quite a lot to take in. I decided for the time being to take a step back and look at the situation from afar, and also see if I can gather any additional information. After the incident, Chaos wasn't really active much on the server. However, the other regulars on there were, including his editor. One time I decided to join a VC that some of them were in, and asked them about the situation. This led to an incredibly long discussion about the ordeal. Every person had their own story about him and what he has done. Multiple counts of erotic role-playing with underage girls, receiving nude photos of said underage girls, manipulation towards them, even threatening to kill himself if they rejected his advances, and in some cases, sending death threats to them. There were times where his attitude and inflated ego had caused him to fall out with other YouTubers, which had also caused a dispute between him and his editor about payments for the work done on Chaos's videos.
In October, me and Chaos had a deal for $800, which quickly dropped down to $425, for 30 creepypasta videos for me to edit for him. When I already sent him 2 videos and had the other 22 in my files, he canceled the deal, only compensating me with about $100.
It was hard to deny. The amount of evidence that was circulating was more than enough to see what kind of a person Chaos really was, and to also think that I would have even considered him a friend of mine after what he had done. I learnt some of the names of the victims that had been in contact with Chaos, one of those names actually being a friend of mine. I'm not going to include her name as she did not want to be known, and I respect her privacy, despite her Discord account now being deleted. And to be honest, I can't blame her for disappearing. A few days later, after the talk I had with Chaos's now ex-editor and the other members, a post was made to one of the text channels from Chaos, basically explaining the situation, that he was sorry and he was wrong and trying to change.
I hope that 2020 things are different.
Despite him repeatedly saying that he was trying to change, it never happened. An apology video was also posted onto his YouTube channel, and it was a perfect representation of manipulative bullshit spewed into a microphone, complete with missing out key details and saying that he was taking a break, all while accompanied to a sad song, to really try to drive home the point that this was serious. It was obvious he wouldn't specify the bad things he did in that apology video, as the video was specially tailored to his fans that did not know what was going on, painting himself as the victim and tricked them into forgiving him, which unfortunately worked in a lot of cases. That apology video has long since been deleted, and the only evidence I have is here on screen, just a widget from Discord that I sent to someone. And after all of that, the Discord server was deleted, and Chaos had disappeared from the internet, it seemed. And that's really where the story ends. After all of it, I decided just to disassociate myself from it all and repress the memories, hopefully never having it resurface. As of right now, Chaos's YouTube channel has been deleted, probably by YouTube itself, but it could have been Chaos who did it. Despite my story taking place over a year ago, it's taken up until now for anything to actually happen. I was actually quite lucky to stumble across this topic again. It suddenly crossed my mind yesterday, as of recording, that this guy existed. I decided to quickly search his name onto YouTube, and in its place was a bunch of videos describing about this current situation of him being removed off the platform. Even though it's taken over a year for his channel to be deleted, I'm glad it at least happened at all. For a while after the entire ordeal in early 2020, I was constantly searching up his YouTube channel or anything about it to see if at least any repercussions had been delivered. Now that the main story is over, I actually want to turn the attention back to the girl that I knew that had been in contact with Chaos. This chat log I had with her is the reason why I even have screenshots of DMs between Chaos and these underage girls. Some of these were from this person I'm talking about particularly, and some of them were from other people. This individual that I spoke to a lot during late 2019 and partially through early 2020 really wasn't okay. I just want to send out another warning for the screenshots I'm probably about to show, as a lot of them are quite hard to read and really depressing in a lot of cases. To put it simply, this girl had a rough life. These screenshots that I'm showing are from early 2019. This is when Chaos was 17 years old and this girl was 14 years old. Inherently, there's nothing wrong with the ages in this. By law, I think it's perfectly okay. But what really gets under my skin about this is the manipulation that Chaos had used against this girl. These screenshots I'm displaying are the sorts of things that he would say to his victims. Saying things along the lines of that his life means nothing and he's a worthless human being. Specifically saying things like he deserves to feel like shit and deserves to hate himself. These messages were made to guilt trip the victim into making them feel like the criminal and like they have done something wrong. What makes this a lot worse is that this is a 17 to 18 year old using these tricks on younger, impressionable fans of his. This is something I feel similar to the Call Me Carson drama, where the relationship he had was between him, a content creator, and a fan of his. By no means am I saying that Carson was using any form of manipulation on his fan. I'm just saying that it's something similar in the dynamic where it's almost like the fan of his that he's dating is brainwashed into liking them just because they're their role model. However, Chaos is much worse of a person than Carson in every way, threatening to do something terrible if they didn't do what he asked of them. Being a young girl who looks up to this person, they wouldn't want to do anything to cause pain or grief to their idol. And to use this sort of manipulation on a child, someone much younger than you, is pathetic and by all means utterly disgusting. Whether the things that Chaos had said were true in these screenshots, and that was actually how he truly felt, is completely irrelevant in this situation, as this man should have had the brain capacity to realize what he was doing was wrong. Turning it back now to the girl that I was friends with during that period of time, from mid-2019 to early 2020, it was painfully obvious that things in her life were not great. These screenshots are only a few examples of things that she had to deal with at home. Other things she would also say in these private messages, to some degree, is something a mentally unstable person would say. Bear in mind, all of these screenshots that I'm showing are from after her experience with Chaos, and I'm not directly saying that Chaos is the one responsible for causing her to be that way, but I'm also not saying that this wasn't the reason why. To have such a terrible sounding childhood, and the way her parents apparently treated her, should have sent some red flags to Chaos when he was speaking with her. Even if he didn't directly know these things, he should have known something was up by the way that she talked to him. As the way she talked to me, I could tell. Again, Chaos might not have been the reason to cause this to her, but he should have at least realized that this person was not okay and needed help. Instead, he used her for his twisted desires and would threaten her with harm against himself if she was to tell anyone. These screenshots I'm now displaying is from the start of 2020, when the truth about Chaos surfaced. Here he's trying to use the same tactics again to try and make her feel bad, but she's obviously not having any of it and is tired of his shit. And it is painfully obvious that he wasn't being genuine with these messages of reparation to someone he violated. If they were genuine, he wouldn't have made the same mistakes over and over, and would have actually changed.
I hope that 2020 things are different, and I hope that in time people can understand that I made mistakes. All I can say.
Alright, get out.
And that's roughly where it ends, I guess. There's probably plenty more things to say, but overall for me, I'm completely out of everything. I also hope that this is the last video on this sort of topic I would make. I probably don't intend of making anything similar in the future, but as a story as dark and as morbid as this one, I wouldn't even want to socially distance next to it. But I hope to, well, anyone who watched this now know about the situation, and I suggest taking it to heart. And I mean that as in, watch out for these sorts of people on the internet. Thank you for watching. Sorry about the sad story, and hopefully I'll get back to something a bit more lighthearted in the next video.